You must. Yes, I said I gave no quarter.
The spin-off show to American Horror Story is in its sophomore season, and it looks like it's struggling to maintain a proper episodic format. The current blueprint American Horror Stories is following is starting to get a bit repetitive and mundane. In simple words, folks, it's boring.
You would have done no different if you were queen.
What is this?
Only one of the best places in the world.
In today's video, we'll be talking about how the show is reusing the same format for each episode. First up, what issue is the series facing? As compared to its predecessor, the spin-off is an anthology series, meaning each episode has a new story with new characters. You know, like Black Mirror. Now, the OG AHS had an entire season to explore the plot and characters, giving an ample amount of time to build up suspense to a grand finale.
Cordelia, you raised me from the dead so that you would have the power of voodoo.
I was watching that.
Come on, get yourself cleaned up. You're coming out with me.
I don't want to go anywhere.
Sure, it's also considered an anthology, but Stories has a new plot in every episode instead of every season. Each episode runs around 40 to 50 minutes, so packing in an entire story within that time frame is already a challenge on its own. But the show's creators are masterminds Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk. Should be a piece of cake for them, right? Although the two planned the pop culture sensation that is the original AHS, its successor is finding a hard time grasping a proper format for each episode. The current blueprint mentioned earlier in the video is basically a plot twist at the end of every new story. Yes, it was exciting and suspenseful the first few times, but every episode? Come on, where's the fun in that? Not only do these episodes rely heavily on the twists, but sometimes they're just a little too predictable. The attempt to shock fans outweighs actually being shocked. Season 2, however, was a little different, and we'll explain how. Now, for some episodes of the new season. For those who haven't seen the new season, the rest of this video is full of spoilers. You've been warned. The third episode, titled Drive, starred Bella Thorne as Marcy, a club girl who's well known to the community. After a night out, she notices that she's being followed by a driver who's continuously flashing the car lights at her. Moments later, the two cars collide, and instead of running away or calling the police, our protagonist sees who the stalker is for herself. Here's where Paul, played by Nico Greetham, enters the picture. All he wanted to do was warn her of someone he saw in the back seat. The plot twist? The passenger is a drugged victim of Marcy, the actual danger to all this. She injects Paul with a tranquilizer, claiming him as her next homicide. Unlike the other episodes, this one escalated the plot earlier than usual. In an attempt to build a shock factor, the storyline fell short because we don't get a proper backstory of Marcy. All we know is that she was bullied for having a big birthmark on her face, making it the motive for her murderous rampage. And the best part? They don't even show the mark. Don't get us wrong, we support all kinds of exposition, but the episode seemed lackluster in its entirety and definitely doesn't fall under the typical horror genre. Following up with the fifth episode, Bloody Mary is very popular folklore that is told to scare the living daylights out of anyone listening. And to all those Marcy core partygoers out there, we mean the scary mirror spirit, not the cocktail. In episode 5 of the second season, we're introduced to the two sisters, Bianca and Elise, along with their two friends, Lena and Maggie. The show follows the urban legend and portrays Bloody Mary as a spirit stuck in a mirror that grants a wish to the one who conjures her from the other world. Here's where the horror elements come into play. The mythical ghost, played by Dominique Jackson, looks like something you don't want staring at you in the mirror. Once Mary is awakened by the girls, she tells them that their deepest desires will come true only if they commit a terrible act. So, what's the closest thing to an evil deed in the universe of American Horror Story? That's right, it's murder! As the episode progresses, Lena and Maggie are brutally murdered in rather graphic ways that aren't friendly to viewers with a weak stomach. And for the shocking turn of events, it's revealed that Elise is the one committing these murders. Unlike Drive, the older sister's motives are explained to the audience, and though they're kind of mainstream, it still builds up to yet another twist in the episode. Let's talk about the double twist in Bloody Mary. We mentioned how each episode would escalate the story in order to have viewers on the edge of their seats. Bloody Mary switched things up a bit and gave us not one, but two plot twists. Elise's motives were to escape her life in poverty and abuse, so she thought the spirit they conjured could help her situation. She lured her younger sister into the cursed cabin, which served as the source of this version's Bloody Mary. This is where Bianca finds out the true identity of the killer. In an act of self-defense, Elise meets her demise at the hands of her sister. But this isn't the second surprise of the episode. A backstory as flashbacks reveal that the current Mary was a tortured slave held held captive by a woman named Margaret Worth. She called for the spirit of Mami Wata, which was basically the Bloody Mary of that time. With the help of Margaret, Mary was deceived by the ghost and was sent into the spirit world as the phantom the girl saw today. Something similar happened to Bianca, which ended up being the second major twist. The blood sacrifice was enough to free Mary from her prison and find the innocent younger sister as her replacement. Bianca's change from good to evil was a little too abrupt, as if the showrunners flipped a light switch. This made the episode seem underwhelming as a whole. Moving on to how these twists aren't fun anymore. If we were to talk about the 5th episode of the new season, a double surprise might have been daring, but it doesn't make up for the other 7 episodes. The next episode, Facelift, is about a woman who wants to feel young again and gets facial surgery to regain her youth. She ends up being part of some cult, and as confusing as some parts get, fans are left with questions instead of answers. Usually, things that leave people pondering about the meaning of a show or film are supposed to be a good thing, but the major plot point that saves the entire episode is revealed in the last 10 minutes in a flashback. This brings us back to the blueprint of the spin-off series. It feels like this is just Black Mirror with a touch of horror and gore. The only difference is, Black Mirror does things in innovative ways that makes the show original. Some episodes get a little dark along the way. Take Milkmaids, for example. The third act is a wild ride where the writers added a pinch of cannibalism and misogyny to the story. But take away the characters and scary stakes, what's left? A 50-minute long episode where half of it is spent giving backstories and building up a plot that leads to an eventual twist. There are some exceptions that serve as Easter eggs to longtime fans of the franchise. It's episodes like those which motivate the audience to finish the rest of the season. Next up, Easter eggs in American Horror Stories. In the first episode, Dollhouse, Kobe meets with Mr. Van Weert for a job interview but ends up being kidnapped, tortured, and forced to partake in a life-size dollhouse. Talk about pacing. Wirt does this in an attempt to find the right mother figure for his son, who deals with other women dressed up as dolls in some kind of sick competition. The story is unnerving, yes, but it gets a little weird with the telekinetic powers being displayed by Kobe. She ends up winning Wirt's prize and is imprisoned as a doll for the rest of her life. To everyone's surprise, the witches of Coven from American Horror Story come and rescue the captured woman. We find out that Kobe is actually a witch of the Coven, which explains her telekinetic powers. What happens to the young boy? He grows up to be the doll-loving Spaulding, you know, from Murder House. This made it look like the season would correlate with the show's predecessor, and it was a perfect way to kick off the season. Unfortunately, fan expectations weren't met. They wanted more Easter eggs in the upcoming episodes. Lastly, will things for the spin-off improve? American Horror Stories is a great anthology series for sure. For now, the only thing saving the show is the suspenseful last 10 minutes of each episode. Once this spark fades away, they might as well take the nostalgia route and make the show tie in with the OG AHS as it did with Dollhouse.
Hey, man. I don't want any trouble. Sully!
Murdered victims reappearing as ghosts can get tiring, and we can already feel it with the new season. The series has a lot of room for improvement, no doubt. It just needs to stop trying to be like its predecessor. American Horror Story will influence stories in many ways, but to maintain its current viewership, the third season should think of a better format. And that's all for this video. Let us know what you think of the spin-off in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more content. See you in the next one.